Good. We were up in we were out to the park this week.
Oh yeah, you can.
Yeah. It was chilly but nice. You know, we had a nice day.
Were you camping?
Yeah. 3 sites. Both the kids came. We found 3 sites a few weeks ago. Becky went online and found 3 sites all kind of next to each other, across the road from each other. So, yeah.
It's a nice park. You can get to ride.
Huh?
Did you get to ride bike at all?
Well, I was out visiting people, and the ladies went for a bike ride.
Oh.
I rode around the campgrounds. That's all I can vouch for.
Well, at least you had a good time.
Yeah.
Good morning, Joe. You want to just check your audio, make sure you can hear you?
Not hearing you, Joe.
Brian, are you able to unmute him?
I can.
He's still showing that he's muted.
And request to unmute.
Hi, Josh.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Hi, Reese. Okay, it is 10 o'clock, and this meeting is it's the county board meeting. It will be held in person and via WebEx, video and phone conference, and stream live on the internet. Not more than 2 county commissioners will be present in the meeting room. The public may join the meeting via WebEx, in person, at the meeting room, or watch it live stream. If joining in the meeting in person, the total number of persons, including commissioners, cannot exceed 10, and social distancing of at least 6 feet will be in effect. The governor of the state of Minnesota has issued Executive Order 20-01 declaring a peacetime emergency and coordinating Minnesota's strategy to protect Minnesotans from COVID-19. On March 24th, 2020, the Pine County Board of Commissioners declared a local emergency for Pine County. Based on these conditions, the chair of the Pine County Board of Commissioners has determined that the requirements of Minnesota Statute 13D.021 subdivision 1 have been met, and it is determined not practical or prudent for all members of the county board to meet in person. The public is invited to join the meeting in person or remotely. For more information or to watch it on live stream broadcast of the meeting. Okay, we will call the meeting to order and rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think Steve is still muted.
There we go.
We're muted.
Okay, too many mute buttons. We'll let the clock quit banging. Okay. Public forum. Is there anybody in the meeting room that wishes to speak at public forum?
Mr. Chair, there is no public in the meeting room, but I
Okay.
wonder if we could take the opportunity to see if Joe Mulford's audio is working yet for his presentation.
Joe, can you take yourself off mute and see if we can hear you? Or if we need to
Yep.
work? Okay.
Are you hearing me?
Yeah, we got you now, Joe.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone on a phone or video call in that wishes to speak in public forum? I hear nobody. So we will move on to the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections?
Mr. Chair, if we could add to the commissioner updates, discussion of the AMC District 1 meeting scheduled for this Thursday. And we could discuss legislative priorities and any county updates we wanted to provide at the meeting.
Yes. Any other additions, corrections? If not, we'll look for a motion to adopt the agenda.
Ludwig will move addition.
Moral second.
Motion by Ludwig, seconded by Moore. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Deb, you're currently muted.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Shapey. Commissioner Shapey is muted.
Hold on. Wait, you're on.
Commissioner Shapey.
Aye.
Yeah.
District 4, Commissioner Nickright.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the minutes of the October 6th, 2020 County Board minutes and summary for publication.
Chafee moves that.
McGraw second.
Motion by Chafee, second by Mickret. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Shapey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Nickright.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
Thank you.
Then we'll move on to the minutes of boards, reports, and correspondence. And the only thing we have is the Pine County Chemical Health Coalition meeting of October 12th.
So moved, Mr. Chair. Ludwig.
Second, McGraw.
Thank you. Motion by Ludwig, seconded by Mickret. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Shapey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Mickright.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
Thank you.
We'll then move to the consent items. There's a lengthy consent agenda that was sent out. Hopefully you've all had a chance to look at it. If nobody has any questions, we'll look for a motion to approve the consent items.
Moore will move the consent agenda.
Ludwig will second.
Got a motion by Moore, seconded by Ludwig to approve the consent items. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
District 3, Commissioner Safety.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner McRae.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Josh. You gonna
Commissioner
vote?
Moore.
Aye.
Aye, he said.
You.
All right. Move on to the regular agenda, Facilities Committee report. The minutes are attached, but if somebody wants to kind of go over those.
Josh, you want to take it?
Sure, I can. I'm just pulling them up right here quick. I was just looking at the agenda. We had the meeting. A couple of the things we hit on was we started kind of going over what we're going to do at the South Pine Government Center. The plan is to transfer ownership to the city of Pine City and at a no-cost deal. So we sent, I think Reese formed up some paperwork and sent over, so the city is currently checking that out. And then part of that was that we were going to be able to stay in there for up to 1 year with no rent type of stuff. So just because we're trying to get the current courthouse figure out, how we're going to get everybody in there, and we're probably going to have to do a little bit of remodeling and stuff like that. So other than that, that was kind of the big part of it, I think. I still haven't found my minutes. So I don't know, Matt, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I can add a little bit. They met for space planning at the new courthouse. I think you covered that. The status of our COVID-19 improvements, the permanent glass for the front counter of the courthouse is ready for installation. The glass extensions at the North Pine Government Center are done. And then there's at the North Pine Government Center, I know we talked about, we're gonna create more. Here, they're just gonna use metal fencing that goes up and make like cages to store items down there. And I think we covered that pretty well, but, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would like to, I'll make a motion that we approve the transfer of the South Pine Government Center with contingency with that Reese gets to review the agreement, so it doesn't have to come back to the board. If everything's okay, I think we should just move it. So I'll make that motion.
I would
Thank
second
you.
that.
Who seconded it?
More.
Okay. Thank you, folks, for working on this. It's something we've talked about for seemingly forever, but it's been a long time coming, and I'd like to see it a done deal here. So any discussion on the motion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
District 4, Commissioner McRae.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Shafee.
Aye.
You.
All right, we'll move on to the Health Insurance Committee report. Matt, are you want to start out with it, or that we covered the waterfront on this? It's something that we've talked about for several years, actually, and it's this particular plans that we got back in front of us now, of course, are this year's bid process we went through, and Justin explained how all of the bids came back and what each plan means to the county. And so, and there are some plans of life insurance and long-term disability, short-term disability, but the big item is health insurance. And so, as we know, that's a huge coster to us. And so, we've been looking for rate stabilization, and we have not gotten it in the last 5 to 7 years. We've been bouncing very much from a decrease to a 13.5%. So our average is around 7. So that's what we're trying to get to. So Matt, you want to? I don't know how much we need to explain here. Or?
I can, Mr. Chair. And I think you covered it. When we went out to bids, it was, stay where we are at the 13.5%. We could be self-insured, Blue Cross Blue Shield with them managing it. That was a 13.5%. And if we went with United Healthcare and we self-insure on our own, it's an 11.6% increase. But there's a difference in those numbers. If we look at that's up on the screen there, the Blue Cross Blue Shield of Minnesota self-insured plan, that's a minimally funded plan. And then if you move over to the United Healthcare, the self-insured where we would manage it, that's a stability funded, which means we can cover that if we decide to opt out. We should be able to based on the averages of our last 10 years of usage. I think what becomes important here is it's a $3.8 million tag to us any way we look at it. And typically, if we stayed with Resource, they're keeping $250,000 plus, I think, to manage it. So that money is what's being applied over to where we do the self-insured. We're saving those dollars, but they're kind of sitting there. But we have to do that in case we decide to opt out at the end of the year so we can cover, and there's other funding built in, but it's still cheaper than where we're at. So I think from what I know about that, I think we can make it work. And of course, we'll have our stop loss to cover. I think our max loss was something like 445,000. Does that sound right? Somewhere around there, that would be our max exposure. Well, if we take the 250,000 we save off of that, that helps too. So that would come off. In any event, I think I'm ready to give it a shot. So. And I think what we should do is address the insurance committee also. It's a pretty well-rounded group, and I don't think everybody there is agreeing to it, but I think a majority probably are okay with it. I'm not sure with that number, but there were some dissenters. But I keep looking at that it's all the taxpayers' dollars, and if we can figure out a way to save some, we should. And
I think Matt summed it up well. If we can save 1 or 2% of our levy dollars, which are precious, then we struggle all the time keeping that levy down, and 250,000 just in administrative costs for this program is 1 1/3% of our levy. So that's a huge cost saving. I know it's scary to people to change and have a different insurance card, but I think there will be, I know they will be well covered. United Healthcare is is the biggest healthcare company. They're good at what they do. Do I absolutely agree with their corporate policy? No, but they are good at what they do. They do provide good coverage. It's very comparable to what we have now. So I don't know. I do know. I'm ready to change. So
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, could I add something? What shows up on our agenda, the dental plan, the life insurance, the long-term disability, the short-term disability, those items are purchased by the employee. They're not part of the main health insurance plan.
right.
They're purchased by the employee if they so choose.
And
So we're basically.
Jackie, correct me if I'm wrong, but those plans are available no matter which healthcare plan we pick, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. So we got, those plans are just something that's available to the employees, and they can choose to participate or not participate. And they're paying the bill on those entirely by themselves. We're contributing to their health insurance.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
Commissioner Chafee here. Just to have a quick question. How, if we go with the self-insured through United, how will that affect retirees that are buying supplemental through the county?
Good question. We have thought of that, and I think Jackie has an answer.
Yes, it is a great question. The retiree plan is independent of the current plan with Blue Cross Blue Shield through Resources. So there would be no change unless we decide at some point to make a change, but this before us does not change the current retiree plan.
She's great.
Mr. Chair, I got a couple questions.
Yep.
So part of the thing we heard yesterday was there was a bargaining, I think just one bargaining unit that is against us going self-insurance. And I don't even know if it was so much going against self-insurance, but changing the plan is what
Right.
they're big. And I think that's the biggest thing is everybody's comfortable with Blue Cross Blue Shield. They know it. And that's why they don't want us to change it, you know. So I think some of the other things that people don't realize is a lot of we're getting this up and running, so it's still cheaper this year, but we're trying to put some money in there to cover some stuff. So hopefully, as this goes on a little bit, it should get, you know, quite a bit cheaper. Not saying it ain't already a lot cheaper. I mean, it's quite a bit, you know, already. But that's kind of the scary part, like you said, when you got to change your insurance card. Next time you go to the doctor, you got to give them a different card. That is a little scary for some people. But I think what the company, you guys have done a great job, and I appreciate all you've done to try to keep it as close, similar as possible. And I think I think there's a few narrow network plans that people are going to lose. But as far as the actual coverage goes, it should be just as good as what I'm hearing.
And Josh, thanks for pointing that out. And I do understand that. I went through that, and it, you know, had 5 different insurance companies in 7 years at one point in my working life. But the people I was working for were trying to cost contain, and they were paying the majority of the bill. So we understood and accepted it, and the coverage, the end result was when you gave them your card, you were still covered. And it is scary when you get the bill from the doctor and it's X amount of thousands of dollars, and then you read all the way down through the bottom, and then the amount you owe turns out to be zero, that's a pretty good feeling. So anyway,
And
Mr. Chair?
yes.
I got another comment too, or
Yeah.
I can wait. I think one of the main reasons we're looking at this, and I just want everybody to know that, is we're looking at the long haul. I mean, like I said, with the provider we've had, we've been really struggling, you know, and I'm not on the insurance committee, but you guys have been really working hard to get some rates to get them to commit to us for the long haul, you know, and we're just not getting there. And this is a way we can achieve that. So, you know, people don't
Get it
have
out
to
of
worry
there.
every year
Take it out of there, take it down the road.
Their providers and stuff.
Yes, it is. I've got no audio.
So we'll see. Hopefully that works. So.
Mr. Chair, this is David. Just two comments, if I could. One, Josh had mentioned that there was one group of employees that was opposed, and that's the highway folks. And there's actually two bargaining units, highway maintenance and highway tech. So I just wanted to be sure that that was clear, that there's one department, but two separate units. And the other thing, maybe just build on Commissioner Moore's most recent comment about the long-term piece. Our initial goal and plan was to work with Resources to get some rate stabilization, and we have been working with them for several years, and they had committed to us that they would provide us a plan to do that. And then when we met in August, they showed up without a plan and indicated they had no intention of doing that. And so that really, I think, caused us to become more focused and serious about looking at other options than the co-op.
Yes, David, that's a very good point. We have been very, very frustrated over the course of several years trying to get some rate stabilization figured out with Resources. And as much as they tell us they're going to come up with a plan, they have yet to come up with a plan. And they have clearly no intentions of coming up with a plan. So I guess we got to come up with our own plan is what the conclusion of myself came up with.
Well, Mr. Chair, I got one more quick comment.
Yep.
The other thing I've noticed, and just like I said, not being on the insurance committee, but I've got feedback. It seems like every year we go do this, they come in with some number and we go back like buying a used car or a car. It's like we're going back and forth negotiating this, and we've stressed how we wanted to, you know, do the long haul with these guys, and let's just come to us with your best case scenario every time, and it's not like they're not. So, you know, we're talking a lot of money in here and a lot of people's livelihoods, or you know, this is a big part of working at the county is your health insurance, you know, so it's a huge deal with families now, you know, so mine included. So it is something that I'm not buying a car, I'm not negotiating the price, you know, it's that's what's kind of driven me nuts about this a little bit. So and I appreciate all the hard work you guys have done doing that in the years prior, but we've had years where their initial proposal and what we settled on was 5%, 6%, 7% difference, you know, I mean, so if we would have just agreed to that, they would have just charged us that much more is what, that's the kind of stuff I don't like, but, so I appreciate it. I'll shut up now, sorry.
No, keep making comments. That's why we have meetings, but David, help remind me now, is this the day we actually vote on what we're going to do?
That's correct. And
Yeah.
so there's several insurances, the dental, life, long-term and short-term disability and health insurance, and you can take action on all of them. And then that way we'll be able to get prepared for open enrollment.
Do we need a separate motion on each one of these, or can we do Dental, life, long and short-term disability is one motion and health insurance is another.
Yep, you can do them all as one, you can do them all separately, or you can combine them however you want, as long as the motion is clear as to what you're doing.
Well, I'd like to tackle the big elephant first, and that's health insurance. And so we're at the point, if nobody has any other discussion, that somebody needs to make a motion of what we think we would do.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
you're going health insurance first, then I will move
yes,
that we go with the United Healthcare Plan, self-insurance.
I'll second that.
okay, we got a motion by Ludwig, seconded by Moore, that we move forward with United Healthcare self-insurance. Is there any more discussion on that item?
I guess I do have one more. I lied.
Yep,
So I just want to say that, I appreciate everything that the insurance committee has done. I myself do carry the county insurance, and I have a wife and 4 kids. So it is a huge deal to me, myself personally, on having decent insurance and that deal. So it isn't something I'm making a motion to do something that I'm not affected by. So I just appreciate what you guys have done, and hopefully this turns. So we got to try it.
thank you. Any other discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes,
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Chafee.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Mickert.
Aye.
Thank you.
okay. The other ones, the dental plan, the life insurance, long-term disability and short-term disability, I'd like to do in one motion. And I believe the motion simply has to help me out, Jackie and David, but to say that we offer these plans from these companies that are listed at employees' discretion.
That's correct, Mr. Chair. The motion could just be to approve the recommendation for those, the committee recommendation for those insurances and to offer them to employees.
Okay. If somebody wishes to make that motion, I'd accept it.
Chafee moves it.
Ricardo second.
Motion by Chafee, seconded by Mickert. Is there any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes,
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Chafee.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Mickert.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
Thank you.
thank you, folks, and I know Commissioner Moore and everybody thanked the committee for doing a lot of work, and the committee did do a lot of work, but we have a consulting group that really does the behind the scenes work, and Justin is an awesome guy in helping take some very complicated formulas and making them easy for us to understand. So we appreciate his work. We'll move on to the Sandstone Recycling Drop-Off Center. Caleb, I see you. Are you going to take this one?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, members of the board, as you're aware, Hayes Recycling notified the county last month that they will not be pursuing a 2021 contract for recycling, realizing that their entryway is basically our sandstone drop-off site for recycling and service, and that's the location that services this community here in Sandstone. We quickly realized we're going to have to come up with something if we wish to continue to have an option for this community here. So, and I'm sitting in Sandstone, that's why I say that. Yeah, so we don't have much time, understanding how much time it takes to put together a new recycling site. So we've identified that the compost site on Highway 23, just on the north side of town, is the city has discontinued using it as a compost site, and it's kind of just sitting idle. There's a driveway in, there's fence on one side, a berm on another, fence on the back side. So there's a lot of the features that you would look for are there already. And we think we could make a couple minor improvements and be ready to go January 1 when Phase is no longer accepting recycling at their facility there. So I've reached out to the city administrator, and she's open to this as a short-term solution. They discontinued their compost program there because they didn't like that being the first thing people saw when they came in on Highway 23 into town. So at first she thought this was putting recycling sheds here wasn't really attractive either. But as a short-term solution, just so we don't have to tell folks, sorry, now you got to drive to Hinckley for the foreseeable future, she thought that would work. So I'm hoping that, either we could design it correctly. For a long-term solution, it could still be on the table, but at least we've got something for now. So we're proposing MOA with the city of Sandstone. They'd be reviewing it tomorrow night. And one other piece is trying to decide what that service is going to look like. We're proposing a staffed recycling center, just because even at Phase's entryway, they still get people dropping off junk, TVs, things that they're not supposed to be dropping off. And we've just struggled with that unstaffed model. So to continue to have this program be attractive to recyclers, we can't have a lot of that burden of junk showing up. So we think, Kelly and I, that we can offer a recycling attendant, 2 to 3 days a week, and kind of stay within the type of budget we've been working with for solid waste recycling. You're muted, Steve. I'm not hearing you.
We need a motion to authorize this to go forward, assuming the city of Sandstone agrees to it at their next meeting, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we're looking for a motion to move ahead with the Sandstone Recycling Drop-Off Center.
Ludwig will move it.
Oral second.
Got a motion by Ludwig, seconded by Moore. Is there any discussion? If not, Debbie, you want to call the roll?
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Shapey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner McRae.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Kind of along with this is a residential recycling contract. Kind of the same reason Caleb gave, is that we Phase gave notice that they were not going to continue with the recycling program, and we had a long history with Phase, and it fit into their program for a number of years, and it fit into what we believed they were accomplishing, both with recycling and with their clients. So it was a good fit, but when the fit doesn't fit anymore, they realized they had to move on into something different. So Caleb prepared a RFP and got a company that we've actually visited previous, and we're very impressed. And I'm so happy they bid on the project. And so that's where we're at. Caleb, if you want to fill in the blanks there.
You covered it pretty well. Yeah, they've been running a program very similarly in Carleton County. Well, they've been the contractor for Carleton County's program that operates very similarly, and they've done a great job there. So we are requesting the acceptance of that bid and to authorize going forward with contracting for 2021.
So we're looking for a motion to accept that bid.
Mick, I will move.
Thank you, John.
Earl, second.
Thanks, Josh. We got a
Mr.
motion
Chair.
by Mick, seconded by Moore. Now, any discussion? Yes.
Yes. So just a question.
Yeah.
With our contract with Phase, my memory is that was like 130,000 we were paying them, wasn't it?
There's more than that.
Is it more than that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's considerably less. Money-wise, we're coming out very well, but I think, we were accomplishing, I think, quite a bit more with Phase than just picking up recycling with the clients that they serve. And we always had that in the back of our mind.
Oh, I agree.
I think we'll be able to do this company will be doing an awesome job for us, and I think we'll be able to build on the recycling program.
Can I make one more comment?
Yep.
One of the things that Phase has done has really filled in the northern areas of Pine County is recycling service for businesses. That most of the garbage haulers don't provide that service on kind of from Hinckley northwards. So there's a number of recycling accounts where I think this new contractor is interested in trying to pick some of that up. So if you do hear from businesses that within your districts that are interested in that, there may be an opportunity for them to work with the same new contractor.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? If not, we got a motion by Mickret, seconded by Moore. I hear no more comments. Debbie, you want to call the roll?
District 3, Commissioner Shapey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Mickert.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. We'll move on to the appointment of Housing Redevelopment Authority, HRA Commissioner. And I'd like to have you consider the appointment of Mary Coy Salone as the Commissioner from District 1 to the Housing and Redevelopment Authority Board for the period of October 2020 through October 2025. And this appointment is pursuant to the resolution that we recently passed, 2020-68, which establishes the process of appointment to the HRA commissioners. And This may be a question for Reese. But Mary Kay Salone agreed to be on this board if she could have she does like to travel, if she could have a alternate. Do we have to name the alternate at the time of the appointment? Or can she make sure somebody's in her seat every time?
Mr. Commissioner, I think with regard to an alternate, you don't have to make it at the time of appointment. I think somewhat time down the road is sufficient.
Okay, I do have an alternate right now that has agreed to be the alternate. I didn't know if we needed to name that person or if it was appropriate. I do not know. Sorry I didn't ask you before the meeting, but I didn't think of it then. We'll go ahead with the appointment of Mary Kay Salone to the HRA board. If we can get a motion and a second on that.
I will move that more.
Chafee, second.
Got a motion by Moore, seconded by Chafee to appoint Mary Kay Salone at HRA board. Any discussion? Not, the clerk will call the roll.
District 4, Commissioner McRae.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Chafee.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the coronavirus response update, which covers a lot of territory, but we'll start off with Sam. Are you going to give us an update?
Hello, yes, I am. Sorry, double muted myself. Hello, DHS Administrator. And just a quick data update info for everybody. Nothing too crazy, thankfully. So we've got 40.5 million cases worldwide. That has not slowed down at all. 8.2 million of those cases are in the US. We are still the #1 country for cases. India is trucking along though, so they might beat us, but we have 1/3 of their population. So we're still per capita winning that race. Minnesota, we're at 124,000 cases. And if you look at the overall trend graph of daily cases from when we first got our first case back in March, we had a peak in May. We kind of came down. In June, we were feeling really good in June, July, and then we started to pick up again. And we plateaued for a long time. It was actually kind of like odd from the epidemiologist perspective to plateau that high for that long, because usually we should either tip over or we should slow down. And we didn't. We plateaued for a long time. Now we're going up. Now we're seeing this kind of really concerning growth across the state that is not ideal in time, because now we're starting to shift indoors with it being cold and snowing today, apparently. That now we're shifting indoors where viruses are easier to transmit. I mean, we all know this, it's cold and flu season, that it's not an ideal time to be ramping up cases. I know some people wonder about, well, we're just increasing testing, so of course we're going to have more cases. Well, no. Theoretically, if we were increasing our testing capacity, but our numbers stayed the same, our percent positive would decrease. Our percent positive has actually increased over the past couple of weeks, which is a concerning sign, meaning that we're actually seeing more cases than we think we were expecting to see if we increased our testing capacity. So that's not a hopeful sign. Another thing people ask a lot of questions about are the antigen tests that have kind of been in the news recently because MDH has shifted their reporting to include antigen tests. We haven't done that before. And antigen, it's still a test. It's a lab test. It's not just, well, we think you have it. It's just not quite as accurate as a PCR test, which is what we've always reported on. So that's why we want them in a slightly different bucket. We want to know about them, but there's like a little asterisk on antigen testing. They're a very small percentage of our cases. We have 24,000 cases right now. 300 of them were antigen tests. So it's really a really small percentage. It's not impacting statistics much at all, but it's just good to know that they're there, but it's not a huge change in data percentages or anything. People were really concerned that it would mess with data, and it's really not. But the most recent updates from MDH have been kind of dire and ominous. They're really concerned about this increase we're seeing and the ripple effects that we will see. Hospitals are pretty, I think it was HCMC's lead last week spoke, one of their main CEOs, about capacity of hospitals. We're seeing in St. Cloud, they're reaching out asking if people have capacity to take patients of St. Cloud. So they're really pushing capacity levels right now with hospitals, and we haven't gotten into the midst of flu season where we normally see hospitals at full capacity without COVID. So that's concerning. Just a lot of not super hopeful data at this point. Everybody's a little worried. If you look at Pine County in particular, we've got 509 cases as of yesterday. 2 of those are antigen testing, so you can see really small percentage are antigens. 186 of those cases are at FCI and Sandstone. So we're still seeing that outbreak. It has slowed down, so that's really good that they're kind of getting a handle on it. But we do take a look at that when we look at school numbers we'll kind of pull the FCI numbers out and see really what the community transmission is looking like when we analyze our rates for schools. And schools are currently sitting at a hybrid model for both the elementary schools and the high schools across the board in the county. That's not unusual. It's actually odd for you to be not in hybrid right now across the state. So I don't think that's going to be changing here, at least for a little bit. So we're keeping an eye on the data. Hopefully at some point it slows down and the kiddos can get back in full time, but we want them to be safe. Does anybody have any questions, thoughts? Can I answer?
Thanks, Sam. We appreciate the work your department's doing, and I know the schools do, so keep it up.
That's what we're here for.
We'll move on to CARES Act funding distribution update. And I believe right now we're going to hear from Joe Munford at Pine Tech.
You are. Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everybody. It's excited to be back. The last 30 days has gone very fast, and we were appreciative of the opportunity to come back and give you an update. You know, just as a reminder, last month we were awarded, the county board approved a contract and funding for a set of programs that we referred to as our WorkFest programs. And so just 30 days ago, and there's been a lot that's happened. I also want to introduce this morning, Wendy Wahlberg is here. She's the Dean of our customized training.
Yep. Hello, everyone. Glad to be here.
And Wendy was listening in last time, and she's here to answer can answer some more specific questions. So we just wanted to give you an update. So just going on to the next slide, as the president of the college, also as a large employer in the county, I spoke about this last time, but with the recent bonding bill, the college was in the bonding bill that was approved last Thursday at the legislature. And so we did get our planning money, and then we'll go for full construction for a 30,000 square foot addition to the building, specifically targeting our workforce or our manufacturing and healthcare programs. And so I just wanted to give you an update on that, just as a general community announcement. But that was announced on Thursday, and we were included in the final bonding bill passed by the House and the Senate. So we're excited about that, and there'll be lots more to come over the next couple of years as we get going on that addition and continue to grow the college. Next slide, and this was just a summary slide, just remembering the programs that we talked about last month that we targeted, and I'm going to give you updates on each one of these as far as applications and where we are as far as start dates and things like that. The auto program, machining, the basic shop and safety, and I'll give you that is one area that we decided we did not get any interest in, and I'll talk about that in a second, and that we tried to get that one going. We have the welding program, the nursing assistant, and business. And again, as you look at these program offerings, a lot of our operating philosophy was to provide some choice for a lot of different people, because we knew we'd have people coming in with a lot of different backgrounds and interests, and not everybody just wanted to go into, manufacturing or nursing. They wanted to be able to increase their ability to work from home or add on some computer skills, as an example, or the auto in the transportation sector. Just on the next slide. So we started off, probably within 24 hours of, getting the approval last month, we started up some of the marketing. We got a real boost through a lot of the print media that went out. And I think one of the things we benefit from being in a rural area and small towns, people still read the paper. And I think that's evident here. We did our general social media work. And so we found out that on our social media, we had the information around the WorkFast programs was viewed 8,700 times, or a little bit more than that, as of yesterday. And then that just counts on people that saw it on Facebook and the other social media platforms. And then obviously they read about it in the paper. And so we got the word out very quickly on the program. And for those of you that are on Facebook, and I'm learning all about these things, we were liked and loved 650 times, and they tell me that's a great thing. So we're excited about that. But it was shared additionally 67 times, and this is where social media creates that ripple effect and getting the word out on the program. We did schedule and host 3 information sessions. And so we had 2 here at the college in Pine City, and we hosted one at your facility up in Sandstone. And so we just opened it up. People could come in and finish out their application process, or just take a tour of the college, talk specifically about what they might learn about in the programs. And that was just open. We had a 2 or 3 hour window where people could come in. And so we had very good participation in those. And again, that was, I think the last one up in Sandstone was like last Tuesday or Wednesday night. Next slide. So after the information sessions, of course, we've been seeing applications just kind of streaming in nonstop since this thing went out there. And I'm going to give you a little bit different information than what you're going to see, because I just had Wendy give me an update. We sent these slides yesterday afternoon to Dave, and there's been some updates. So when I give you a little bit different, that's what the gap is. Without doing the overall math, we added a few more. I would say we're probably right around 100 applications, or people that have gone ahead and accepted or want to get into the programs. And so right now in auto technician, we actually have 10 people on the wait list. And so we got 20 applications. We took 10 people. Some of our class sizes were limited with things because of our labs and social distancing and availability of resources. So we've been trying to hold some sections, that are digestible. So we had 20 applications, again, filled one section, and then we have 10 on the wait list there. The basic manufacturing, we have 7 applications on that one now, I believe, is what that is. And Wendy, jump in if that's changed, but I think.
Yeah, we did get 2 more overnight,
Okay.
So we're at 9 there, almost full.
Okay, so we're 9 to 10 spots there. You can see, like auto, that class starts on the 23rd, so at the end of this week. And on the basic manufacturing, that starts next week. The certified nursing assistant, we had an overwhelming interest in that. So we are up to 31 applications for that program. We filled the first section just almost immediately. We can only, under Minnesota Department of Health guidelines for offering CNA, we do those sections in sections of 10 historically. That's just based on student-teacher ratios and some of the guidelines that we fall under. So we filled the first section to 10 right away. I mentioned just a slide ago that we did not get any early interest in the one manufacturing track that we had. So we worked with with Dave and got the ability to shift those funds that were appropriated into doing a second nursing assistant. And we already are up to having 11 people now, not 10, on the wait list for the third section. So that's been really overwhelming because we all know, especially with COVID, these nursing facilities or these long-term care facilities just cannot find enough CNAs. So that's been really, really great news. And then in the welding, we're up to 7 on the wait list now. So we had, more applications, and we filled the first section. They started here about a week ago. So it's a nice group of students in there, and they're up and running. And then we were already at 7 and almost going to fill that second section. And then business computer applications, we've got just still 1 person on the wait list, if my math is right there, Wendy. I think that
It is. We just increased that. We had said that would be a class of 10, but we increased that to a class of 20 by opening up our classroom.
Okay, so they were able to work that out and be able to accommodate, instead of having 2 sections of 10, they were able to do that. So as you can see across the board, we've just had a ton of interest in the different areas. And obviously we've got wait lists going now for the programs that are out there, and the ones that don't are really close to filling. And it's been 5-6 applications of the last few days. I mean, things are just kind of steady. We had a spike right away, and then things just kind of settled in, and it's just been a steady connection. So on the next slide, and I've been to a couple. This is all anecdotal. We've surveyed some students about obviously priority being given to people that either work or reside in Pine County. But it's really been a mix, and I didn't know when we did this exactly who might, step forward, if it was going to be just dislocated workers. But people that as I've talked to Wendy and some folks on her staff, and myself personally, just going in and talking to people there, it's been a mix. I've talked to people that are incumbent workers from local employers here in Pine City that I know very well, that sent their workers over because they wanted to get a little bit more machining experience to be able to do some other things for their employer. There's definitely been some dislocated workers, people that have either been out of the workforce for a longer time. They were home for a while and want to get back in and get a computer class before they start applying for jobs. Or it was people that worked, at a facility and that's been impacted by COVID, and they're just looking to do something different finally. There's been entrepreneurs. I've met a few people in there that have a business that they're running, and maybe it's something that they're doing, very kind of small business out of their farm or their house, and they want to add on some auto skills to be able to offer some new services. And again, just some people that want to do that upskilling to expand their opportunities and be more successful with their business. And then I've met a couple people too that just told me stories about they have personal needs. And a couple of these student stories, I'll give you more specificity, is one woman that I met was going to wanted to take the CNA program. And her intent was that her mother-in-law was staying with them, and it would allow them to have her stay in the home because she could acquire those skills. So her goal was not to work as a CNA in a long-term care facility, but it was really to be able to support her mother-in-law, who was elderly and was becoming more fragile, and needed to learn bathing techniques and lifting techniques and some of the things they learn in the nursing assistant program. And I think as far as the county goes, as policymakers, a lot of times those folks are going to be coming through your systems in other ways, because when they go to those long-term care facilities, of course, a lot of times they're going to need some help to pay for that. So those are the things that might not show up in an income, a tax return at the end of the year. But really, as you think about the impact on the county and some of those programs that that you're involved with, I think there's some of those stories that'll be hard for us to track long-term, versus just we reduce the unemployment rate as an example, as a measure. And one person that I thought, he was a really interesting guy, and he was working. He's got an auto shop that he runs out of his house, off his farm, and he wanted to expand to do more in the ag sector, but he was having a hard time supporting some of the ag. Of course, in our region, we've still got some small farmers, and they're not driving brand new stuff. And he was going to take the machining program because then he could manufacture his own parts and help people keep some of that equipment going, you know, on the combines and things that he can mill a shaft or do some different things that it's just hard to find those replacement parts on in a timely manner. So that's how he saw this benefiting him and made him more competitive, and frankly supported our economy by keeping those small farmers going too. So there's 100 different stories in there, but those are just a few that I've heard over the last few weeks, and it's been really interesting. I will just tell you personally, you know, we were excited about the program. I'm not sure that we fully appreciated the amount of demand that was going to be there. This really took us, it's always, you just don't know going into this stuff. And I've just been blown away a little bit about how much demand there are. So this program is the word got out and people are finding themselves in it in these different areas. And just another quick example, I met a person at an info session that, she was bartending right now and had been in a different professional capacity previously. You know, was at the point in her life that she wanted to not do that long term and wanted to do computer programming, but just really didn't have any basic computer skills and wanted to be able to work from home long term. And lives in the northern part of the county and was, you know, thinking that was a good option for her to tap into those career options. And so just wanted to, again, to come take a basic computer class and you know, get her skills brushed up and learn more about other programs that might be out there, whether that's a credit-based program going forward or something else that's available online. So the last slide that I've got is just, you know, the reason that I'm back here today outside of just giving you an update is we've currently got standing waiting lists. And as I mentioned, the auto program is, you know, in the welding program, those have increased, and the nursing assistant one, you know, to 11, and we're at 9. And so these things are going to fill probably in the next couple of days. There's enough demand there that if the county is able to reappropriate some more CARES funding, we could turn these programs on very quickly. We've got the wait list essentially established. We feel like we can handle the logistics on it with instructional and lab capacity, and so that's the question that you know, we'd like to come and see if the county's interested in expanding the program.
Thanks, Joe. It's awesome, my hat's off to you guys for coming up with the idea, and I think it's a testimony to a small college that cares about their area and can really turn on a dime and see a need. And even though we didn't know the need was as great as we kind of thought it was, develop some programs that very quickly you could turn on. And I certainly would think if the county has funds available, we would fund those programs so people aren't sitting on a wait list. My question to you, Joe, and you kind of answered it, are instructors available as you fill new classes?
So the answer is yes. You know, that's can always be a challenge, you know, to find really high quality auto instructors or welding instructors. It's always a pressure point for us when we do it. But, you know, one of the things that we prioritized is we looked internally right away. It was important for us to try to have our full-time faculty be involved with these programs, because I think it helps establish a relationship, you know, for the faculty, or if you're coming to take the welding program and you're working with our full-time welding instructor, they just start to get to know each other a little bit. And if you like what you've got, you know, you're going to have this person going forward. So the short answer is yes. There's still a couple of questions, phone calls out there, but we've got people that we use part-time adjuncts as a big part of how we, you know, provide instruction on an annual basis. So we've got a pool of people.
And Mr. Chair, this is David. You had asked if there were, or made a comment about if there were funds available. And so we do have some funds that are coming from the small cities and townships that are unspent. And then we also have some funds remaining from the pool that was for the very small jurisdictions under 200 that is not spent. And so we could tap into both of those and generate the $76,000 needed to add a section of auto technician, CNA, and welding.
Awesome. Awesome. And I would just speak for myself, but I'd say I would hope that we could get that done rather quickly. Anything else, Joel?
No, just a closing comment would just be, Mr. Chair, we appreciate it. Like I said, this has been a great partnership. And it's one of those unique things kind of professionally where you just, like I said, you just don't always know going into these, you have a hunch, but it's been really fun to talk to some of the students and hear some of the stories about how they're using this to kind of be creative and entrepreneurial in what they're doing. It's not like we're training everybody going to, one big factory or one big, hospital system. There's just 100 different stories here. So I think that's where it's been exciting for our region. So thank you.
Yes, and the other exciting thing, as you touched on it, was to be included in the bonding bill.
Yep.
And we were all cheering for you, and every chance we had, we stuck in a word. Don't forget Pine Tech's funding, and so I think Pine County as a whole, we got some things in that bonding bill that were on the top of our wish list, including some expansion at Pine Tech. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to add approximately 30% to our building, and it's really focused on those really core manufacturing and healthcare industries in our region. So we're excited about it. There's not a lot of student support space or libraries or things like that. This is really kind of bread and butter tech lab, high bay space, gunsmithing program, nursing, welding lab comes inside and gives us the ability to expand that significantly and do more fabrication and things. And so we're excited. And I know for the region, it just gives us a chance to help train more people, increase that higher education attainment rate, and obviously support the manufacturers and the other industries that we have in our region. So we appreciate the help. It took a team effort. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I was just going to say something. I just want to thank Joe and your team for all this too. I mean, obviously it was a huge need, and it's pretty awesome that in our backyard we got someone like you or a college like that to get something like this done so quick, and we're already going to be starting classes or have already started classes. So that's just a testament to how valuable that college is to have. There ain't a lot of counties that can say the same thing. So I just want to say thanks and go. I appreciate it.
May I add one thing?
Yeah.
When we made the proposal, the county came back and added some funding on that for emergency services for students. And we have gotten a few requests for that. And it's things that will help enhance the classes, internet access so that the student has ability to take the quizzes, scrubs and shoes for the nursing, watches with second hands for the CNAs, and then steel toe boots in the manufacturing. So that has been very helpful, and we are very appreciative to that as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
do you want a motion then?
I don't know that we need a motion to switch the funds, do we, David?
You certainly could do a motion to approve the 76,000 and authorize the 3 additional sections.
Okay, that'd be great. Matt, are you going to make that motion?
I will authorize the 76,000 for the additional class sessions on the Work Fast program.
McRae will second.
McRae seconds. Any more discussion? If not, Debbie, you want to call the roll?
District 5, Commissioner Ludwig.
Aye.
District 1, Chair Holland.
Yes.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Shapey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner McRae.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to business and nonprofit program update.
And Mr. Chair, Don Hickman is on the call as well, and I think he will have an update. If I can take just a minute first and let everyone know that the Economic Development Committee did meet on October 7th. And after that meeting, we reopened the business and nonprofit assistance programs until November 5th. And we expanded the business program to include employers up to 250 employees. We added faith-based organizations for grants up to $2,500. And then we also are offering a business coaching and online presence training program. And so all of those business and nonprofit assistance programs have been working through Don at the Initiative Foundation. Don, if you want to give us an update, and I can share your box score if that's helpful.
That'd be great, David. Thank you. And good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I appreciate you giving me a few minutes here. As David mentioned, I'm a big baseball fan, and so I always have a box score so I can keep tabs on how we're doing. But we have now completed 2 rounds of nonprofit grant making. We've received 42 applications. We've approved 30. And $129,000 and change has gone out the door. We've had 78 applications through 2.5 cycles of the business. That one's still open. 58 of those have been approved to date for $438,000, almost $439,000. I still have some in process, including 6 faith communities. As David said, we'd originally established a threshold of $2.5 grand for the faith communities. And I've actually been waiting on those to see if we had more applications and if we wanted to re-examine that threshold. We're not covering lost revenue for the faith communities, but if they had done adaptations to the pandemic, such as purchase of broadcasting equipment or supplies to socially distance, that kind of thing. We have been reimbursing for that. I'm still coaching a few applicants and they continue to come in. David, I've not spoken to you in a few days. I've had inquiries from firms who are newly eligible since you lifted the threshold of what a small business is. But, it's still in a broad brush. I'd note that we're below 600,000 to date. And we'd expected to award more grants than that more rapidly. So you do have money left to play. And I know at some point the CARES Act clock runs out on us, but we're happy to keep reopening the cycle because you clearly are continuing to reach folks who'd not heard of it or thought they didn't qualify or are just realizing, no, I really do need the help. It's very common in rural areas like Pine County that folks are so proud, they hate asking for help. And I assure them that, boy, they paid their taxes all these years, that they deserve it. Some of this, you can't say the pandemic was government caused, but when you were ordered to shut your doors or greatly modify your business operations, that even though that was for public health, it is not unreasonable to expect some public assistance to keep your business going. So getting an awful lot of appreciation, and even some of the folks I've had to decline a portion of their request are very grateful to Pine County. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, or David, any questions, anything I can answer for you?
Thanks, Don.
If I may, you didn't ask this, but I just want to praise you. Based on that previous presentation, I've told Dr. Mulford that I think this is the smartest program I know in the state. And when I talk to other community colleges and other economic development partners and brag about what you folks are doing, just like my comment that many businesses don't want to ask for help, I think many displaced workers have not come to grips yet that their jobs aren't coming back. And I think what Joe and Pine Tech have pioneered is going to be of huge demand here for months and months. And Pine Tech's going to be the first institution that's figured out how to stand up a program like that. So you guys are really innovative. Congratulations.
Thanks, Don.
Mr. Chair, I
Yes.
see there's a Becky on the call. I'm thinking that might be Becky Schuler with the Pine City Area Chamber, and she has been our point person on the business coaching program. And so Becky, if that's you, do you want to give an update to the board on how that program is working?
Sure. So the business coaching is working through the small business community with the coach, Steve Fredland. He is based here in East Central Minnesota. It was a program that we presented first to the city of Pine City, and they jumped on board to provide coaching assistance to up to 15 local businesses. And we started rolling with that program at the beginning of October and getting the information out. As requests started to come in, we were hearing from businesses that are outside of the city limits, looking for that coaching assistance, including helping businesses get online. As we move into the winter months, and it's going to be harder for them to have a presence at their storefront with customers feeling comfortable coming into their store, or they have to expand takeout service due to limited seating in a restaurant. We want to give them the tools needed to either create a website, do online ordering for their restaurant, create social media pages, whatever it takes for them to become more marketable in our community. And so working with Dave, we were able to help a couple of businesses located outside the city limits. And then when that program started, I've also put together a list of Sandstone, Asco, Finlayson storefront businesses that we think would benefit from this type of coaching. And I've mailed them information directly. And then we'll be following up this week with some phone calls. We wanted to make sure they had something in front of them to really learn about it before they received a phone call about it from the team that's working on some outreach. So I'm hoping within the next few weeks, we'll have more concrete information about which businesses are able to take part in that.
Becky, thank you so much. It's awesome. I know several businesses that have really appreciated the work that has gone on. So hopefully they're on the right track to continued success.
Thank you.
I don't know. Because I live in Pine City, I'm around town more than I am in the other towns, but I'm very impressed with the innovation that some people have showed of how to shift gears, and really, I think their businesses may have actually gotten stronger in the last 4 or 5 months. I'm not sure. I'm not their accountant, but I think some of them have done very well because they have realized they can't do it the way they used to do it, at least for the foreseeable future, and they've shifted gears and done very well at it. So thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
If there aren't any questions on any of those programs, I can share the slide of the funding allocation. It's a little bit busy because it's kind of growing as we go. But if you wanted to just get an idea of the various projects and programs and areas we funded, and then that change column shows how it's adjusted from the initial allocation. And then the far right column is what's remaining to be spent. So if there are any questions on these programs, it should all look pretty familiar.
I do know one thing, David, and I don't know how I try to get my arms around this, but it seems like people that are offering support with food, I'll just use that as an example. They had a food distribution by Second Harvest in Pine City last Tuesday, I believe, and the line went several blocks down the street for till they ran out of food. They ran out before the line ran out. So I don't know how I'm trying to get my arms around, well, have these people been lacking food all the time? Has the pandemic caused some of that? Or I don't know. Becky might have some answers, but are we able to help people like Second Harvest more and our local food shelves more?
I don't have any insight into your first question, Steve, maybe about whether there's, more need or less need, but I think anecdotally, there's more need, right? That's, if you look statewide, and Don, you maybe are tied in a little bit more to some of that. Not only, you had mentioned, Steve, the distribution at Pine Tech last week. The previous week out at Lake Lena, they also ran out of food. And so I think when this program started, they were sending food back. And now I think they are sending more food and also running out of food. And so the word is clearly getting out to people who maybe weren't coming initially. Don, did you want to add?
Thank you, David. I would just remind people in the most nonpartisan way that benefits of low-income families and the unemployed have also recently changed. There may be a real spike in demand kicking in right in the last couple of weeks as well. We have seen extraordinarily varied needs around the state. Some rural communities have not seen a spike in demand and others are swamped. But I think as we enter these winter months, there is just likely to be increasing demand without question.
Thank you. Becky, do you have anything to add at all?
Sure. I would just like to reiterate that we are seeing a significant need. People are, I think, pretty insecure about where they're going to get their next meal from. And just myself being at some of those food distributions, it just feels really sad, if I can just use that word, when it's 2 o'clock and you're supposed to be going till 3 o'clock for a distribution. You can see you have very little food left and the line is super long. And so, anecdotally, staff are telling me that people are really feeling that food insecurity, and I'm seeing it with my own eyes at the food distributions. And also, our numbers for SNAP applications, which is food support, have increased significantly over the last couple of weeks. So we are seeing people trying to take advantage of some programs that are there designed to help people supplement some of their food budget. So that's a good thing. We are including SNAP education and materials in each of those food distributions. So people, after the food distributions are over, maybe they can look into that and apply for those services as well. I would just like to add that we're seeing this across the board for all ages. I was very surprised at how many people who were maybe 60 years and older at the most recent food distribution. So food security is not choosing one specific age, it runs across the gamut.
Thanks, Becky. I know at the Council of on Aging, we've seen that for a number of months where the average was 27,000 meals I can't even remember if it was a month, jumped to 75,000. For a while it spiked to 90,000, but now it's running around that 75, 80,000 meals a day, I guess. So that's all of central Minnesota. So that's a huge difference. So, do we have other programs, David? Under the CARES Act?
Other,
He's just following the agenda.
yeah, no, I don't think there's anything specific to that
Okay.
agenda item. That was just opening in case there were things that came up or if commissioners had things they wanted to cover.
I don't know if Kelly is still on. I don't see her, but I was just.
Hey, I'm here, Steve.
Oh, there you are, Kelly. I'm just, it seems like the scale is somewhat upside down. We have this group of people who have been needy and now are more needy. Yet, if we base what I've seen previous in our sales tax collection, people are still buying a lot of stuff because our sales tax collection has been up. Is that continuing?
Yes, it is.
So,
And I haven't pulled those numbers. I haven't sent you guys those numbers for a couple months, and I can do that.
okay. All right. I didn't want to put you on the spot, but I think it's something we have to remember. Just because we are not personally affected, it doesn't mean everybody's in the same boat. And if we look at the statistical information that we're given, we've got a lot of people that are slipping. I don't know if we call it between the cracks or they're there, but they're feeling much less secure about where their next meal is going to come from.
And Steve, you had kind of noted the disparity that there is in the impact. And I heard a story on the radio this morning, and the line of demarcation that they had come up with was the $16 an hour job. And the brunt of the economic impact is focused on those jobs that pay less than $16 an hour, which really represent the tourism, hospitality, retail, food service sectors very heavily, and not so much many of the other jobs. And I didn't pay enough attention to take a lot of notes, but that dollar figure really stuck out as a line of demarcation that the research had shown.
Interesting.
And a lot of $16 an hour really impacts a lot of people in Pine County. When you look at the jobs that are connected to the retail, the tourism, and hospitality industries.
Exactly. Exactly. Are we done with the coronavirus updates?
We are.
All right, we'll move on to the third quarter 2020 budget report.
And I've got a couple of slides, and so I will share those. And I'm remembering back to the first quarter financial update and talking about all of the uncertainty back in April. And as I was putting this third quarter report together, what struck me is the only thing that has become certain is the uncertainty. We still don't know a lot of what the future holds, but because of the diligence of our employees, the diligence of our leadership, and I think even the commissioners being willing to set a good example, I think we have, from a budget perspective, are on track to end the year very well. And lost in that, I think, is some of the changes and the sacrifices that others had to make in order to get our budget to balance. And so because of reductions in programming, we did have employees who were furloughed. We did have employees who were forced to take time off when they would rather be working. And so when I give you the third quarter update and say, I think we are on track to end the budget or to end the year on budget, and that our finances have really stabilized, that represents a significant amount of work and sacrifice by a lot of people. And so I just want to be sure that that point is made. This chart looks at the countywide by fund, 2019 to 2020 revenue and expenditures. And everything really looks about where we would expect it. There's no red flags or alarms with regard to the fund level of the revenue and expenditures at this point in the year. There are some differences with the previous year, and in the road and bridge, that's always just based on the timing of projects. And so that tall green line for 2020 represents a lot of state shared funding that we have not spent on the projects that are in progress. And in Health and Human Services, you can see both revenues and expenditures are down compared to last year. And that is the department that really made the most significant changes with regard to service delivery and staffing. The second chart is just looking at revenues in the general fund by departments. No significant concerns here. I think noteworthy, the jail revenues continue strong, and that is really attributed to, I think, very dynamic management of our boarding program. And then also we had reduced those border revenues for the year. And so although the revenues are above budget, they're less than we've previously budgeted. And then looking at expenditures by department, comparing 2020 to 2019, everything is looking really strong. The two departments that are above the 75% level are the recorder's office and the sheriff's office, and both of those represent planned spending of reserves from dedicated funds, not on operating budget that's spending. Then the last chart just looks at the Health and Human Services by major area. And in social services, spending is really down. And a part of that is attributed to the out-of-home placements, which are tracking below budget for 2020. And, you know, I don't want to put too much out in the universe maybe, but on a month-to-month comparison, every month in 2020 had lower expenditures and out-of-home placements than the corresponding month in 2019. And so some of that is good fortune, but some of that is really good work by the social workers who work in that area to make sure that we're keeping kids safe, but at the same time finding the appropriate level of placement that's cost effective as well as effective for the need. So are there any questions on where we stand financially in the end of the third quarter?
Looking good.
Anybody? Thanks, David. If no questions, we'll move on to Commissioner updates, Soil and Water District.
We had a meeting October 7th, and we're also going to have an emergency meeting today at 2:00. So probably the highlights is Bowser did a reconciliation check on them, and it's kind of like an audit, and they found a bunch of problems. So that's why there's an emergency meeting today. But I think they have a plan to get it all worked out. And I will know more this afternoon.
All right. Law Library.
Yeah, we did have a meeting. Basically, it was just to pay a few bills and go over some lost inventory and whether or not we're going to replace it or not. The other thing that did kind of arise, and I don't know how much longer we're going to be doing these virtual meetings, but I know our law library administrator was working. We did a Zoom or a WebEx, I don't remember what it was, but they were doing a free one, So we had to be done in a certain amount of time, and we kind of joked about it because our meetings don't usually last very long. But I should maybe connect with Ryan about, I don't know if that's something, whatever the county's using, if the law library could tack on that for some of our meetings, or if we have to actually buy our own subscription or whatever. But that'll be something that I just actually thought of now. So I'll get a hold of Ryan and kind of work on that type of deal. So, but we did pay our $1,500 a year IT support fee at the last meeting. So maybe that is part of it. I don't know. We'll work on it. So otherwise, nothing fun.
You can't see Ryan, but he's giving you the two thumbs up, one for the payment of the technology fee and the other that he can work with you to get the video piece figured out. So you don't have the time limit.
Well, and actually, if Ryan, if you're listening, if you can just connect with Bonnie and maybe work that out for the next meeting. We only have a few, like every other month anyway. So, but that'd be awesome. Appreciate it.
Thank you. East Central Solid Waste, we met last Monday. We are going to issue a small rebate to the counties based on the formula that was initially set up. We are going to issue a rebate because, and not lower the tipping fees, because we think we have an anomaly going on right now with the amount of garbage that's being delivered. And we don't want to, we would rather give it back to the counties than to cut the fee and then be short. And so we're kind of in this, what's the best business model? Originally, the counties contributed a lot of money to get that thing off the ground. So it's kind of a nice way to give some of it back. In the overall scheme of things, it's not going to lower. If we gave it back, I'm not sure it would lower anybody's garbage bill, but this way it will help us in some budgetary areas that we have in our county. So we'll let you know when we get the money all figured out what it is, but it'll help us. It's not gonna buy a new dump truck or something like that, but it'll help. Library.
I did miss the library meeting, so I apologize.
All right. Chemical Health Coalition.
Yes, I attended that one. We're planning to create some flyers with the new T21 tobacco information to be distributed out. Also looking at designing 4 more billboards and get those up for the public to see. One thing that's really kind of disheartening that happened here within the last month, we did a compliance check, a tobacco compliance check. 26 sites were checked and 10 of those 26 failed. This time we just received warnings, but when we go out again for a second round, there'll be some consequences at that time for failure. But first round was free. Got to go past jail one, but the second one is going to be some consequences. But that was about it.
Thanks, John. That is disheartening, I guess, but it's anyway. They'll get it figured out. Northeast Regional Transportation Partnership, we had a meeting on Zoom, and I think the biggest item I can report from that meeting is we had a discussion at the end of, do we start meeting in person at some point? My contribution to that is it's very difficult for me to get in my car or pick up and drive to Duluth and back for an hour or an hour and a half meeting when I can sit home and, for me, get more out of the meeting, because I don't hear as well as some people, and we have about 35 or 40 people that are members of that committee. So we have to meet in this great big room all the time, which is, it's like meeting in a cave, no matter what meeting room we use, whether it's at Mountain Iron or Two Harbors or Duluth. And so when somebody 45 feet away is talking, I have a really hard time understanding. When we meet on Zoom, everybody has a mic right in front of them on their iPad or computer, and so I get more out of the meeting electronically, which I think is interesting. But I think what we're going to do in the future is probably meet electronically to cut down on driving, and then maybe once a year have a in-person meeting. So otherwise, we heard a lot of good reports about what's going to happen. Of course, gas tax collection is down, so you know, there's less money to spend on the MnDOT projects. The big project you're going to see happening is that old Duluth Spaghetti Junction, whatever they want to call it, is going to start. So be prepared if you're driving through Duluth for about the next 3 years. You're going to have a lot of lane narrowings, and as they try to work through rebuilding, some of it is a redesign, some of it is a rebuild. So anyway, that's it. Labor negotiations, do we have any updates there?
We met yesterday with 3 of the bargaining units, and we reached kind of a last offer stage with all 3 of them. One of them was going to recommend approval to their bargaining unit. The 2 others were going to take that last proposal back for a vote without a recommendation. And so we should, some of those units will take into November before they have an opportunity to actually vote. But we're continuing with those negotiations.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, could I just?
Yeah.
I just want to say, from a negotiating standpoint, it's been, I don't think are we halfway there yet, David? Or maybe we are, or we're getting close. But anyways, it has been a very, very challenging year for negotiations. We got a lot of contracts, and we've been making some really hard decisions. And I just want all the employees of Pine County to know that we do appreciate all the work they do, very, very much so. In the last few years, in the last rounds of negotiations, we did, put a lot of money on the table to try to get back up to market. And now, we're asking a lot of employees to just bear with us through this uncertain time. So, I just hope people don't get, angry with us, because we do appreciate it, and this county wouldn't run without the people that work here. So that's all I guess I can say there.
Thank you, Josh, and thanks for the work that committee does. I know it's a lot of meetings. We appreciate it. One other thing is there's an AMC District 1 meeting. It's going to be a virtual meeting. And one of the things they want us to talk about is some highlights from the county. What's one thing we've could brag about that we've learned and done during this COVID time? What are some legislative issues that we had going into the session that we've come out with that we're happy with or sad with or whatever? So I just wanted the board's feedback before I make up my own story. Anybody got any ideas for me?
I have one, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
So I'm sure everybody is doing it, but I think we're doing it really well. And I'll start with a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, but when we were going to build this North Pine Government Center in Sandstone. And I remember we had asked the question, how could we do a telework thing or have people working at home? And I was like, oh no, that'd be pretty tough. And then COVID comes along, and I think Pine County did an amazing job. I mean, it was like we threw a switch and it would work. So I think everybody probably feels the same way, but I just think it's that important. And I think that helps us maintain a lot of things. So.
Matt, I just want to add to that story, because as I've been on meetings with, on committees with other county commissioners, not every county, even in our area,
right,
has been successful at having people work at home. And one driver has been, and their IT department didn't seem to be able to figure out how to deploy equipment to people's homes. And the other thing is supervisors who weren't willing to go down a different path and supervise people that were working at home. And I really think it's hats off to our leadership, who has helped all the supervisors understand and be able to supervise people remotely.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Steve, I'm guessing there's going to be discussion of the CARES Act at the district meeting.
Yeah.
I think the WorkFast program with Pine Tech and Community College is a program, like Don Hickman said, that probably should be shared around the state as really a way to get non-traditional students into a technical college education program to provide those critical skills for the community.
Right. I think so too. Anything else? Legislatively, I just know David would have the numbers in front of him, but the things that we know that came out of that bonding bill that are going to settle in county, one is Pine Tech. And how much was that, Dave?
I'm not sure what the total numbers are for Pine Tech, and I think they have an ongoing request, which is probably a part of the I want to say Minsky, but I think they changed their name, right? Whatever the whole college organization is, I think they are in their program for multiple years, and so they have been successful at staying on track with that.
And for the county, we were pushing for some bonding money for a trail. And what did that end up as?
It's about $650,000. And so this will be the 1.9 miles coming north out of Pine City up to the river.
Yep.
And there's a lot of other money that's going into that segment as well to complement the bonding money.
Right.
And I think, and Steve, you probably know more, but I think our project had fallen out of the bill if it was ever in the bill. And then I think Representative Nelson worked to get that back in the bill. So when it did come up in the 5th special session, it was able to be in the bill.
I think if you see Representative Nelson, shake his hand or give him a fist bump or something, because we had several conversations and it was in the bill, out of the bill, in the bill. And he he got to the right leadership in the caucus and figured out that there was some, I don't know if you call it discretionary money given to each minority and majority leader in the bonding bill, and so they were able to figure out how to get it anyway. And then there's some money for the Willow River camp. Is that true?
Yep.
Yes.
So that's awesome. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, Chairman, this is Commissioner Chafee. Can you hear me okay?
You bet.
I'm having a hard time hearing you guys. There's a lot of interference. But what I wanted to bring up here is that you're all aware, you read your weekly update, that DNR has the Grindstone River Dam and Hinckley back on their radar. And they're doing an EIS study, I think, which they're having an open comment period until, was it the 12th, David, I think is what they said. And, you know, we did do a resolution back, and I don't remember exactly when that date was, you know, in support of one of the options that the city approved of. And in the conversation with the mayor, kind of wondering if maybe we could send our resolution to them for the comment period. I wondered what the rest of the commissioners thought of that idea.
I think we passed it, Steve, so we would be supporting. So I think it would be very appropriate to make sure that it was in front of them.
Well, that kind of was my take on it. And I don't know, David, if we need a motion to do this or do it by consent.
I don't think so. I think the resolution itself is your public policy position, and based on the board's conversation here, I will ensure that it's submitted as a comment to the hearing process for the DNR.
Okay, I appreciate that, guys.
Yep. Thanks for reminding us, Steve. I was going to bring that, ask you about that because I read that in the update. And by the way, David and Debbie, thanks for sending those Friday updates out. Sometimes we get busy in our own committees, and it's really a good reminder what happened this previous week or what's coming up. Meetings coming up, we can all see. I want to add one that we know the district meeting's coming up. I think that's on there, but Lower St. Croix is next Monday at 4. It's a virtual meeting. We're actually in the work phase now, I think you'd call it, of the Lower St. Croix. And I know a farmer who's already applying for some money that they have been awarded. So anyway, any other business that needs to come before the board? If not, we'll declare the meeting adjourned. Debbie, when will you have stuff ready to sign?
As soon as you can get here, Steve.
I'll get there before the snow gets knee deep.
All right, we'll see you then.
Okay. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.